Hi everybody, my name's Abigail. I usually do videos on therapy, psychic readings and behaviour, but I actually want to talk about malrotation. So I recently, at the age of 59, was diagnosed with malrotation when it got to the point of being a volvulus, where it was actually about to rupture, and I had to have emergency life-saving surgery a couple of weeks ago. So I've looked online for information and I haven't been able to find a lot from people who have gone through the same thing as an adult. So I thought I'm going to make a video and share my experiences and see if I meet any people out there or anyone wants to share their experiences or just watch and learn about it. So a bit about my history. So for anyone who doesn't know, malrotation is when your mother is pregnant. It's a congenital birth defect. Congenital meaning that it's not hereditary. It happens during the pregnancy process. You're born with it. So during approximately the 10th week of pregnancy, the internal organs actually sit outside of the embryo and they move internal and they are fixed in place. What happens with malrotation, and I hope my understanding is correct, is they don't secure correctly in place and they can be anywhere from being a bit loose to all over the shop. That's my understanding. So it's usually picked up in babies. It's not often picked up in adults, is my understanding. And it's also not something, from my understanding, that's readily tested for or picked up because it seems to be quite rare in adults. So historically, so my mum has said my mum, I think, was really stressed during the pregnancy because I'm the oldest, but before me she'd had a miscarriage from thalidomide. And she's a very worrying person, and my dad was away with the English Air Force, so I think that she had a lot of stress. And the causes of malrotation, from what I've read, are drugs, alcohol, or stress, and drugs and alcohol are definitely not on her agenda ever. So I would say that it's stress related with her. So she would tell me when I was a baby I was always throwing up, like a lot, like it was quite significant. And as a child, I remember she took me to the doctors numerous times because I always had tummy ache. I remember having tummy ache a lot when I was a child. I remember throwing up. I remember eating certain things. Like one time my uncle bought us ice cream off the ice cream van, and of course it made me sick, and so then I never ate ice cream again. But there was a lot of tummy ache, a lot. And I used to get advice when we went to the doctors. My mum would be told, like, don't let her have drinks with meals. This is, we're talking the 70s. So that was the best they could do. And that was, I don't know if it helped or didn't help, but anyway, that's what we did. I didn't have drinks with meals and things like that. So anyway, the tummy ache continued for years and years and years. And there's a lot of other symptoms that I've had along the way as well. So one of them is that I can only, well, up until 5 weeks ago, I could only ever eat really small meals generally. Sometimes I could eat more, but generally not. It was usually if I loved it and I was really relaxed. Generally not. I could only eat small meals and I would get really full. No, I didn't get full. I got pain. All my life, I've stopped eating a meal because it hurts, not because I'm full. So, and I always know where the hurt spot is, and I know that if I eat past that, it'll really hurt. So I always stop because it hurts. And it's interesting because I did eat small meals, and I'm pretty skinny. Like, look at me. My daughters have said to me recently that, so I have 5 children, 3 daughters, 2 sons, and my daughters have said to me that they, oh my goodness, they thought that the reason I ate small meals was to send them a message that you have to be skinny so that you can be healthy, and that I wanted them to somehow get a message, which is quite bizarre to me, to be skinny, which I've never said that, but I have always been very health conscious because so many things don't sit right in my body, and because I had no other answer, I thought that they must be the same. Like, so I'd say to them, oh, we're not having this in the house, we're going to have healthy meals, we're going to have this because it's not good for you. And just thinking that that's how life is. I don't know, because I had nothing to gauge it by. But I knew that if I ate certain foods, I wouldn't be well at all. And I could see similar symptoms in them. So I just thought that I was giving them the best advice as a mum. And I absolutely was not manipulating my girls to be skinny, not in any way, shape or form. And I was really quite shocked when they told me that was the conclusion they'd come to. So anyway, I've always eaten small meals, and I cannot even tell you how many times I've watched people at work, like at the lunch table, have their lunch, and I'm like, how do they eat that much? Like, that means they don't have dinner. Like, that must mean that the big meal is because that's their main meal of the day. And then sometimes they tell me they have dinner too, and I'd be totally perplexed. Like, how do you do that? And I'd even watch my parents who are in their 80s. I watch my parents eat, and I think, even just a few months back, I was watching them eat, thinking, how do you fit in such big meals, and how do you eat such a variety of foods? And I watch my family, I watch people eat all the time, and I'm just totally perplexed. Like, how do people eat? But I never have an answer, because there is no answer, because I can't do it. But I didn't get beyond that point, because obviously I didn't know. I'd never heard of malrotation. I never knew that there was a physical reason for it. I just thought I was really sensitive to food. So that's what I came up with. And the other thing that I find really interesting is that I have read that malrotation causes malabsorption of some specific vitamins, minerals. And I didn't realize that I was compensating. So vitamin D was one I read about. I always have a tan. I'm almost obsessive about lying in the sun and having a tan. And I don't tan over the top, not at all. It's just I have to have a certain amount. And if I get a certain amount, I suddenly feel really well. Like everything flows in my body. The other thing that I did is I was lacking in, I think it's magnesium. And so that's another thing that gets blocked. So what I'd done was I started eating 90% cocoa chocolate, which has a lot of, I think it's magnesium, whatever it is. And I ate so much of this. So I was compensating for the things that I wasn't absorbing. And this was my way of just focusing on my body, tuning into my body, and allowing myself to work out over 59 years what actually is manageable. How can I eat the right foods? And yeah, so a lot of the things I couldn't eat, I can't eat sugar, I can't eat a lot of processed things. I can eat red meat, but sometimes I can't. I can't have dairy. I can't have bread, pasta, cereal, all the white foods, all the processed foods. I love them. I used to be able to eat a bit more, but then I had a workplace incident that had caused extreme stress. And it was after that stress that it became worse. And this was 2.5 years ago. And after that, I just couldn't hardly eat anything. And it would take me probably up to 6 months to get my eating back on track and get my tummy settled down so I wasn't feeling sick and nauseous all day. And I would get it on track, and I did things like I went to acupuncture because I'd been to the doctors again and again saying I've got these tummy issues and nothing was checked. Acupuncture really helped. But then I would go a few months and then it would start again, and then I'd have to work really hard to bring myself back. And in the end, I didn't realize, because it happened over time, it had got so limiting that I could hardly leave my house and all these other things that were I just was so limited. It was ridiculous. But I didn't realize how bad it was because I was so used to adjusting to my stomach over time. I was so used to making allowances, not eating things, working out the best thing. It just was part of who I was. So then 5 weeks ago, I had a number of symptoms that were really unusual, and that's when I went to the hospital. So I'll do another video on that.